The ballroom shimmered under golden chandeliers, laughter echoing as the elite celebrated the grand anniversary of one of the wealthiest men in the city. Suddenly, a voice cut through the cheer, sharp and commanding. "You there, Mira. Don't just hide in the corner. Come here." All eyes turned toward the young maid, her face pale, her hands clutching her apron as if it could shield her from humiliation waiting. She hesitated, whispering that she wasn't feeling well. But Ria, the millionaire's elegant wife, smiled cruelly and insisted, "Our guests are bored. Sing something for us. I'm sure your village voice can amuse them." A ripple of laughter spread across the hall. Mira froze, her heart pounding, the weight of her unborn child pressing against her ribs. She had spent months keeping her secret quiet, months surviving whispers from other staff, months holding back tears in the dark. And now, under hundreds of mocking eyes, she was trapped. Slowly, she stepped forward, trembling. The crowd sneered at her worn dress, her swollen body, her frightened expression. She lifted her head, forced to obey, and her voice, soft, shaky, broke through the music. The guests chuckled at first. Ria clapped her hands in mock encouragement, calling her a little nightingale. But something began to shift. The maid song carried sorrow, notes threaded with pain so raw it unsettled the laughter. Her voice grew steadier, stronger, until it filled the hall like a cry of survival. Verses wrapped around the silence, revealing grief, betrayal, and resilience. Those who came to mock now found themselves unable to look away. Some lowered their glasses, struck by the intensity. Others leaned forward, whispering. Near the head table, the millionaire himself, Arjun Kapoor, sat unusually still. His usual calm expression melted into something no one had ever seen on him before, a storm of emotion. His fingers gripped the edge of his chair, his jaw tightening as if each note pierced him. Guests noticed his eyes glistening, and murmurs spread quickly. Why was he reacting like this? The song reached its peak, a haunting finale that seemed less like entertainment and more like a confession. Then silence. For a heartbeat, the grand hall felt like a temple, heavy with unspoken truths. A few guests clapped hesitantly. Others remained quiet, unsure what they had just witnessed. Ria's applause shattered the moment, loud, mocking, cruel. "Well done. I couldn't have asked for a better comedy performance." Laughter followed again, but weaker this time, tainted by discomfort. Mira lowered her gaze, cheeks burning, body shaking. She turned to leave. "Stop." The deep voice of Arjun Kapoor silenced the hall. Every whisper died. He rose slowly, his tall frame commanding instant attention. His eyes locked onto Mira, not with disgust or scorn, but with something dangerously close to anguish. He walked toward her, the sound of his polished shoes echoing like thunder. Ria frowned, confused. "Arjun, it's just a bit of fun. She knows her place." She laughed nervously, but he didn't look at his wife. He stood in front of the trembling maid and took the microphone from the stand. "Enough." That was the first word that shook the crowd. His voice carried authority that left no room for laughter. Guests shifted in their seats. Some whispered his name in shock. Ria tried to interject, to turn it into a joke, but he raised a hand. "You think humiliating someone weaker makes you powerful?" His voice cut through the air, heavy with restrained rage. "Do you even know who she is? Do you know the truth she carries?" Gasps rippled through the hall. Mira's eyes widened, terror written across her face. She shook her head slightly, silently begging him not to say more. But Arjun's expression had changed into something fierce, as if years of silence were breaking open. "She is not just a maid in this house. She is not just someone you can mock for your entertainment. She carries my truth, the truth none of you were ever meant to hear tonight." The hall erupted into whispers. What does he mean? His truth? Some guests leaned forward eagerly, scandal lighting up their eyes. Others looked horrified, sensing the collapse of everything perfect about the Kapoor marriage. Ria's smile froze, eyes wide with disbelief. "What nonsense are you talking about?" she hissed through clenched teeth. "Stop this drama right now." But Arjun didn't stop. His gaze remained fixed on Mira, softening for just a second before he turned back to the crowd. "I will not allow her to be ridiculed. Not anymore. Because what she carries within her is mine. She carries my child. The room exploded. Gasps, shouts, chairs scraping against marble floors. Phones raised to capture every second of the scandal unraveling before their eyes. Some guests covered their mouths. Others exchanged horrified glances, and whispers flew like sparks in a firestorm. Mira's knees weakened. She wanted the ground to swallow her. She had begged him to keep this buried, to let her leave quietly when the time came. Now the truth roared louder than her song. Tears welled in her eyes, shame and fear colliding with something else, a strange sense of release. Rhea staggered back as if struck. Her perfectly composed world cracked in front of the people she valued most. "You liar," she screamed, pointing at Mira. "You disgusting girl. How dare you weave such a trap?" But Arjun's calm voice overpowered hers. "It was not her doing. It was mine. And tonight, I will no longer hide." The chandeliers glittered above as though watching in silence, and every face in that hall waited breathlessly for what would come next. The celebration was over. The truth had just begun to shatter everything. The hall was a storm of whispers and gasps, every pair of eyes darting between Arjun, Rhea, and the trembling maid. Rhea's face flushed with rage and humiliation, her voice trembling as she shouted, "You've lost your mind. Do you realize what you've just done in front of all these people?" Her hands shook as she tried to steady her glass, but it slipped and shattered, mirroring the fragments of her carefully built reputation. Arjun didn't flinch. His words cut with measured clarity. "I have hidden this long enough. Tonight, you drag her into the spotlight to humiliate her. But it is not she who should be ashamed. It is me. It is I who let this happen. I who failed her when she needed me most." The guests gasped again, stunned by his raw honesty. Some leaned forward, fascinated by the unraveling scandal. Others shifted uncomfortably in their seats, unable to look away. Mira stood frozen, tears streaming down her cheeks. Her lips parted, desperate to speak, but her voice refused to come. She felt the eyes of the wealthy and powerful pierce her like daggers. She wanted to vanish, to run far from the suffocating hall, but her body would not move. Rhea lunged forward, pointing an accusing finger at her. "You sly little snake. This is what you wanted all along. To trap him, to worm your way into this family, to ruin me in front of everyone." Her shrill accusations echoed off the marble walls, but they were met with an unexpected response. "No!" Mira's voice finally broke free, shaky but firm. "I never wanted this. I begged him to keep it secret. I begged him to let me leave quietly before anyone ever found out. I never wanted to take anything from you. All I wanted was to protect my child from shame." Her words carried a sincerity that silenced even the cruelest whispers. Arjun stepped between the two women, his back to Rhea as he shielded Mira with his presence. "Enough, Rhea. Stop blaming her for my mistakes. She is not the predator here. If anyone is guilty, it is me." His voice thundered through the hall, leaving no space for argument. Rhea's chest heaved, her pride wounded before the very crowd she cherished. "You're destroying everything. Do you have any idea how this looks? Do you realize what people will say about us tomorrow? About you, about me?" Arjun turned, his eyes cold and resolute. "I don't care anymore. What use is wealth if it comes at the cost of humanity? What good is reputation if it is built on lies and cruelty? Tonight I choose the truth, no matter how it looks." The guests buzzed with excitement, scandalous energy filling the air. Some whispered in shock at his courage. Others whispered in disgust, already predicting the fall of the business empire tainted by scandal. Phones recorded, eyes widened, and the night that began as a celebration of power had turned into a theater of truth. Mira clutched her belly, whispering through tears, "Please, don't do this for me. Don't ruin yourself because of me. I can raise this child alone, far from here, where no one will ever know." Her words struck deep, her selflessness softening even the most judgmental hearts in the crowd. But Arjun shook his head firmly. "No, Mira, you will not raise our child in shadows. I will not let you hide while I enjoy the comfort of denial. This is my child, too, and I will not abandon him or you." His voice trembled slightly, but the conviction in it was undeniable. Rial let out a bitter laugh, her eyes glistening with fury. You think these people will respect you now? You think they'll applaud your bravery? They'll destroy you, Arjun. They'll mock you in every paper. They'll rip apart everything you've built. And all for what? For her. Arjun's response was steady, unwavering. For the truth, for love, for the life we created together. I would rather stand alone with nothing than live surrounded by lies and cruelty. His declaration reverberated across the hall like a thunderclap, and slowly the silence shifted. A few guests clapped, hesitant, awkward at first. Then more joined, some genuinely moved, others eager to side with the man they once revered. Ria's fury boiled over. She screamed at the crowd, "Hypocrites! You cheer for betrayal? You cheer for my humiliation." But her voice sounded hollow now, desperate, unraveling. Those who once adored her looked away, unwilling to meet her gaze. The tide had turned, and she could feel it choking her pride. She tried one last time, her voice breaking. "You can't do this to me, Arjun. You can't just throw me away like garbage. I am your wife." Arjun's face hardened, though his tone remained calm. "A wife should be a partner, not a tyrant. I gave you respect. I gave you loyalty. But tonight you showed me that what you value is not love, but status. You force an innocent woman into humiliation to feed your pride. That is not a marriage I can honor anymore." Gasps rose again as he spoke the words everyone dreaded but expected. "From this night, we go our separate ways." Ria's legs buckled, and she stumbled, clutching at the nearest chair. Her empire of arrogance collapsed before her eyes. She let out a broken scream, gathered her gown, and stormed out, the door slamming behind her like a final act of defeat. Silence followed, broken only by Mira's quiet sobs. Arjun turned to her, his expression softening, his voice trembling now with tenderness. "I'm sorry, Mira. I should have protected you from this. I should have been braver sooner." Mira shook her head through tears. "You've just destroyed your whole life for me. How can I accept that?" He gently took her hands, his voice carrying the weight of finality. "My life was never whole without truth. Tonight, for the first time, I feel free. If I lose everything else, so be it. At least I will never lose myself, and I will never lose you." The crowd, once hostile, began to shift. Applause grew louder. Some faces softened with sympathy. They saw not scandal, but a man who chose humanity over pride. Some still whispered in judgment, but others nodded with quiet respect. The tide of the room had changed, not completely, but enough. Mira's tears continued to fall, though now they mingled with relief. She whispered, "The world will not be kind to us." Arjun smiled faintly, lifting her hand to his chest. "Let the world do what it will. At least now I am not hiding. At least now my child will know I chose him before all else." And in that moment, the once glittering ballroom, filled with arrogance and vanity, became something different. It became the stage of a truth too powerful to be silenced. The celebration had collapsed, but in its ruins stood something far greater, a man, a woman, and the life they were no longer afraid to claim.